in the charts, and you'll see coming up. So
yeah, we'll get it kicked off here so we can get right into the content. I'm going to get through some of the housekeeping really quick, and then hand it over to Jason, because today we want to talk about the perspectives from the forum on ChatGPT, but we also want to make them. So I want to hear from everybody on this a lot too. Jason's going to give some ideas to get everybody's heads spinning a little bit, but really we want to develop our own perspectives here with everybody, right? So forum perspectives, not just our perspectives on this. So we hope to have a really active session. It sounds like we're gonna. That's great. If today's your first time, if you could just put your name in the chat, we make sure we track that, and everybody on the group says hello to you, so we can welcome you and make sure that you know what we do here. And there's a link on the bottom about the Digital Services Forum, and this tells you all the resources we have. So we can post this link in the chat so that you have it. And this is the one link you can always go to. It's the bottom of my emails too. There's a link to it. So it'll get you to our Zoom registrations that stay the same. It'll get you to our homepage for our community. That's where we share all the content. Like these presentations you'll see today will be out there. There's the YouTube playlists where all our recorded meetings are put on YouTube. And then we have a shared instance that's it's a little choppy lately, but it's still there. So whenever we do demos, we try to do them on that shared instance so that we can just say, hey, log in as an admin and get what you need off there. That worked out pretty well for us in the past. This way, if somebody wants to do a demo and you want to go in and see the configuration, they don't have to worry about exporting it all. So the big reason we created this group, in the beginning, when I started, there was only 4 of us on the group. And the big problem was that everybody's trying to figure out what to do with the CMDB. And no matter what somebody did with the CMDB, it was wrong. So we started really focused in on the core of service delivery. And we moved this year, we focused more on the digital transformation, which was really what the core of service delivery was doing, was an enablement piece for that digital transformation. We kind of elevated what we were focused on to bring in more things around digital service delivery. We share whatever we can on that community. We used to have a Google site to do that, but we moved it to the community this year. So if you're not a member of that community, it's on that About page I showed you before. The main way to get information is on these biweekly calls, but I've been hearing from a lot of customers that they have breakouts. So a lot of times chats happen on breakouts and you end up meeting with a lot of different people in the one-on-ones, especially when you get industry focused. There's a lot of one-on-one breakouts that happen as a result of the group. So today, before I get into the agenda, I want to do just over the next few meetings, because I'm not going to do this at the end. I'm going to let Jason run right up to the end because I think you guys are going to have a pretty active discussion. So I just want to bring up the next few meetings. We don't have anything in April yet, so I do need ideas for new content. The next meeting, I was going to do something on, the last one we talked about was we're going to do something on ZTA. And the more we talked about ZTA, the more we thought it wasn't really a good topic. ServiceNow doesn't have a lot of perspectives on ZTA. So what we did is we thought we'd make it more general about standards surrounding and driving CSDM. So we have a couple speakers coming in to talk about some of those standards and the tooling around it too. The tooling that basically the tooling that is usually a result of the standards that get created, right? Vendors create tooling that adhere to those standards. Then we're going to go into this topic I'm really excited about that Charles is going to lead with Ian around value stream management. So that one's shaping up nicely. We have somebody coming in from the customer side, somebody from the product side, and then a lot of our field people. So that should be a really good value stream management. It's been a hot topic lately. So we're still, again, looking for ideas for April. So anybody have any content or anything they want us to go over, I'll dig in and get all the speakers for you and everything. I just need some ideas. So if you can either put them in chat or drop me an email, that'd be great. And with further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Jason, and he's going to go through some of these topics that we put out on the agenda and look at some of the different ways. But I think Jason's going to remind you too, we do want to keep it open, keep the chat going. Also, just feel free to interrupt. We don't have a ton of people on here. So if you do have a perspective you want to jump in on, don't be shy. Jason, take it away.
All right. Let me share my screen. Let me know if you can see. Yep, there we go.
Got it.
Awesome. Well, hello everyone. Interesting topic. A lot of discussion out there, both in the public forum and internally as well at ServiceNow, and some of our customers are dealing with the implications of we'll call it the generative AI and ChatGPT in particular as part of that. So just wanted to give you guys a perspective, some of my more thoughts and opinions as an enterprise architect, being in the business, for almost 30 years, seeing a lot of change in the IT industry. And, this one's interesting to me. I think there's a lot of potential opportunities, but there's also some things we should be thinking through as a kind of a forum, and, how we start applying the technology as well. So again, my background, I'm an enterprise architect here at ServiceNow. I focus primarily on financial services, so heavily regulated accounts in the enterprise space. And as I said, I've been in the business for quite a long time. Started out as a cloud transformation engineer, so I've seen a lot of migrations to cloud and then the DevOps pieces as well. Working on some large accounts with a previous employer. So definitely excited to give you guys a perspective on where we see things. I'll just caveat it, of course, with safe harbor. We're not going to make any kind of projections here. This is mostly potential and opinion, although educated opinion. But we won't be talking about any future products from ServiceNow here. So just wanted to make that caveat. So I did run this. So I did actually, everything you'll see here, I actually ran custom through OpenGPT to look at this. So I asked, I asked, what is OpenAI? And it was interesting. It gave me a pretty detailed answer about the history of OpenAI. So again, this started, if you don't know the background, Elon Musk was one of the key founders. Sam Altman's still there as one of the key people. And this has kind of evolved. It started out as being an open, friendly AI kind of consortium for the betterment of humanity. So if you've heard Elon speak in the past about OpenAI, he talks a lot about having an open kind of forum for the discussion around the impact of OpenAI while we develop the technology. And so I think that that spirit is still there, although, I think there's some corporate influence involved now because of the potential financial implications, which again, I think hopefully they'll stay to the principles of OpenAI, because I think it is critical that we have these open dialogues and discussions and be able to kind of put parameters around how we use the technology. And I think ServiceNow is even more focused on that, right? Is making sure we're protecting our customer data and our own personal, and our own kind of intellectual property and data as well. So that's a real key aspect. And we'll talk about that a little bit. But you can see here, we're going to focus on ChatGPT here for the most part, but OpenAI is also working on some other pretty interesting projects. You can do some research on the web related to some of these other projects, but we'll talk about ChatGPT because I think it has the most relevance to what we're doing at ServiceNow and what our customers are dealing with as well, and how we can potentially apply the technology. So without any delays, I'll go right into it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was the Gartner hypercycle for artificial intelligence. So there are a couple areas here. You can see generative AI is on the peak of inflated expectations with a 2 to 5 year. And I think that's actually accelerating even faster than this states, although, it's around that amount. So, And it's kind of funny, the responsible AI is just above it, which I think is something that we should really be focused on when we talk about generative AI as well. But that says 5 to 10 years. So the responsible, it's kind of interesting how responsible AI is assumed to be later than generative AI, which does make sense. But as we apply it in the real world, responsible AI is going to become more critical. And we're going to have to really think through that. So again, just wanted to put your perspective on where this technology is in the hypercycle. So I asked ChatGPT about itself. I said, what is ChatGPT? And it gave me a first-person response saying, I am ChatGPT, a large model developed by OpenAI. I've been trained on a diverse corpus of text and learned to generate human-like responses to natural language input. My purpose is to assist users in generating human-like responses to their queries, as well as to provide information on a wide range of topics. I'm capable of answering questions, providing explanations, summarizing text, and generating text in a variety of formats. So it's interesting. It's a first-person response. And all I did was click the regenerate. And it actually then regenerated a third-person response with the same question and talked more technical about what the background is of ChatGPT and where it started. Talked about the natural language processing system. So you can kind of see the interesting thing that it will regenerate a completely different set of text just by a click of a button. And so you can choose, which ones are most appropriate to you, which is interesting. So again, it's a very interesting and very accurate response. And not just with itself as a reflection, but just if you look at the words, it's kind of interesting how much detail and how much perspective goes into the actual answer. So just wanted to show you guys that. And for those that don't have the background, what is ChatGPT? And I'm sure most people are familiar, with the technology. If not, you'll get familiar with it fairly quickly. So let's move on. What we see in the enterprise. So there's areas of benefit. There's some key areas, and I think the way I looked at this was how we see ServiceNow and the technology that we are doing for our customers, and how this type of technology can augment that, and how enterprises are going to, I think, most use the technology in the shorter term. Obviously, there are longer term use cases, which I think will develop. And I think there's some areas like, I think, full code generation is one area where I think we're a little ways away from that. Automated code development, so that where there's no human involved at all, is something on the radar, but I think it's a few years away, if not further. I also think that the myth of replacing jobs, I think is a ways away as well. I think you're still going to need, and where I see the benefit is in the augmentation of the work we do. To enhance productivity even further with the same amount of resources. And that's a real requirement. I mean, the world's getting more complex, so I think that we need this type of technology in that context, again, with parameters, and I'll go into that as well. Again, feel free to use the chat. This is an open forum. At the end, I will have some questions for the forum, and we can go through and have an open dialogue. Hopefully I'll leave about 10-15 minutes at the end where we can kind of open up those questions. But the three areas I felt were
Michelle just commented, right, it can summarize and synthesize data that is available, but it doesn't guarantee the truth. And I wonder, that seems like what the responsible AI is, right? It's kind of putting a leash around it so you can make sure it's truthful data, right?
Yeah, I mean, that I'll talk about that, because I think there's the whole the implications of the data it's training today, and the fact that in the enterprise space, I think we're pretty far away. And it was kind of interesting just this week. I don't know if you've seen, if the audience has seen that the OpenAI released their ChatGPT API. And you've got companies like Snap and other companies that are connecting their critical systems to ChatGPT, which I think has its own. We should be kind of stepping back a little bit on that. And I think I'll talk a little bit about where we see some challenges and some potential issues. But I think there are a couple key areas that we can start to utilize the technology sooner than later, where I see some real benefit right away. One is in augmented code development. So we talk about how we can enhance and optimize the developer persona and the developer experience. And I'll show some examples of these three, but that's one. And I think there's some real use cases there. And that is, our customers who are developing applications can utilize the technology to help augment the skill set and augment some of the functions so that they can speed up the development of their applications. So ultimately getting even faster development capability. The second one is in sales and marketing, honestly, and consulting. I think there's a lot of opportunity there, and there's some challenges too. And I'll talk about that, I think, a little bit with data, but I think internally, I think we can look at this and do some analysis on our customers, doing some understanding of how to develop and find new markets. Where are our competitors working and focusing on? So it's kind of interesting for market research and sales. I think there's some real unique and interesting use cases, and I'll show you a couple examples. And then the third one, obviously, is employee productivity. It kind of touches a little bit on the augmented code piece, but it's a little more and I'll show an example of where I asked ChatGPT to actually create an email for me to a CEO, and it's amazing, the response. And the more detail I gave ChatGPT, when I did this a number of times, I used one screenshot to show, but I did this a number of times, and the more data I used in my question, just the more detail it was able to actually do in a summarized, interesting email to a CEO on a prospective opportunity. So those are kind of three main areas. They're not the only ones. There are a number of other use cases, but these are the ones I think have the most short-term impact, and where inside the enterprise we can start to utilize the technology. So those are the three. For the augmented code development, you can see here, this question was asked to generate an actual script, and it actually wrote the code down. So, I mean, I was able to generate this, and you can see that it actually writes the code down in JavaScript and gives you the actual language that you can cut and paste and actually create the script that it asks for. So very interesting. A lot of use cases around testing, doing code testing and code error correction. I think there's a lot of opportunity in that space, especially where there's such a huge shortage of developers anyway. So I think this allows the enhancement and the augmentation of citizen development using low-code technology. And if you combine this type of technology with that, you can see the potential opportunity where you don't necessarily have to be a detailed coder, but you'd have to understand coding enough to be able to ask the right questions. And I think that kind of expands our developer base very significantly. So again, that's one key use case.
Hey, Jason.
Yeah.
We were talking yesterday, we were betting when the security question would come up. So it was about 15 minutes in. Do you have a slide on that, or did you want to just spend some time and comment it? Okay. I'll wait.
Yeah, I do actually have one. So, okay. Yeah. So
we'll wait to that. And then there was another question about virtual agent. I think you have a slide on that too. So we'll just hold off on those. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And we'll talk about it a little bit. I mean, I'm prescriptive to say that, as far as customer data and ServiceNow proprietary data, there is a concern, right? And there's something we need to be very careful with. Yeah. So I think that's the area where, and again, we can talk about it at the end, because I think that would be some of the biggest discussion area around how can we really apply this to an enterprise and do it in a safe way where we're not actually revealing critical information to competitors or customers or other things like that, right? So there's that piece of it. I'm I'm going to start out talking about the capability, well, the potential opportunity, but then we obviously at the end need to reflect and figure out, right, what the best way is to leverage this going forward. And I think the forum was a good place to start the discussion, because I think I wanted the forum to be aware. The excitement around this technology is one thing, but actually applying it in an enterprise is a totally different thing. So this is the first one. The second one is the sales consulting. So you can see the question I asked it. What are the biggest challenges? Because I work in financial services. What are the biggest challenges CIOs face in the financial services industry? And you can see the response. And I put in 2023, and it was funny. It said, I don't have access to future information, so I cannot predict the specific challenges that a CIO will face in the financial services industry. However, based on current trends, here are some potential areas that CIOs may focus on. And it actually is pretty accurate. And because I work with CIOs in the financial services industry, and it's funny, many of these items are very top on their list. Top is cybersecurity, compliance, digital transformation, legacy systems. These are in talent management, all are major. I mean, there's a variation of these in every single CIO's mind. So I was very impressed by this answer, and it was very, it's very to the point. So again, another opportunity to use some of the technology just to get more insights quickly and to augment the work we're doing to help, utilize this. And we can obviously tailor this to our responses, right? So that's the other value, is using this information to actually then go through and augment what we're already doing, and we modify it to our needs. But this is so some of the use cases you can see on the left. Industry trends for sales and marketing, identifying market competitors, understanding buyer responsibilities, understanding your territory, researching account information, writing target emails, so like this here. And then in solution consulting, I think there's some interesting areas like demo, brainstorming ideas, generating and testing demo code, write event invitations, finding relevant customer stories. I mean, these are some key items that I think are good use cases and good areas of focus for what we're seeing in the application of ChatGPT in their sales and marketing and consulting arms.
Hey, can you hold up a minute, Jason? I'll go through some of the chats real quick. So Tina, I will put the chat, especially with all the links that everybody's sending out. I'll put that in the community when we're done. So I'll get a copy of that and put it out there. And I think a lot of the other ones are a lot of ideas. And we do have some product management on the call today. Barath, I don't know if you wanted to come off mute. And there is some things going on. Product managers aren't ready to share roadmaps yet, but
hello everyone. Bharath Padaki. I'm part of the ITSM product management team here at ServiceNow. This is absolutely top of mind for us. And like under Safe Harbor, there's a bunch of work that's happening. We're trying to figure out what are the best use cases to bring to market. What can we do for Vancouver? That's Q3. And what can we do for Washington are top of mind for us. We are trying to pivot in that direction. We will probably have more to share in the coming days, weeks here in terms of our direction. But I already see a theme around, even I was monitoring the chat as well. Summarization, text generation, human in the loop kind of use cases, I think are the safest bets right now, considering there's PII, security, how we secure customers' data. All of those are top of mind for us. And one of the reasons I was just chatting with John here, as we embark on this, having design partners work with us, customers who are willing to share data with us under, of course, a legal agreement would be hugely, hugely beneficial for us. I don't have a fully structured plan yet on how to source that. I'm being very, very frank and transparent here. But if any of you folks here are interested, we are starting to see if we can actually recruit some of the customers and explore options. Of course, we'll provide more details as we get further along. But if you folks are interested, I'll work with John to figure out how we can funnel some of you folks, build a connection and see how we proceed forward from there. But if you're interested, John, again, I don't know what's a great way to do it here. I don't know if you have a way to...
that's an interest. So Duran and Caitlin and a lot of people drive cabs through this community. So it's been a pretty common way to come in. So we've done like early demos of concepts and then asked for feedback live on the calls. And then there's a lot of one-on-ones too, where people have joined the customer advisory boards kind of outside the group, right? So, but yeah, definitely great to have you on the call. Thanks for chiming in.
No, thank you. And Ian, thank you for leaving me a direct message. I'll leave you my email address so we can connect after this. If anyone else here is interested, please leave me a direct message in the Zoom chat itself. I'll share my email address with you and we can connect post. Again, I'm transparent. In the beginning, things may be a bit slow. We're trying to get a formal plan together so we can actually engage with you folks in a structured manner, but connecting with you early is going to be hugely beneficial. And I think some key investments will make a huge impact for all of us in this community. So thank you, Jen, for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thanks. All right, Jason.
Yeah, thank you for that. No, that's great. And as I said, as an enterprise architect, I'm not the product engineering group, so it'd be nice to, I definitely hear the weigh-ins from the engineering organization, obviously with the caveats of safe harbor and everything, because I think that's obviously one area we want to focus on. I know there's a lot of focus internally for us in our product organization. So great, thank you for that. And I'm sure you'd want to hear from customers. That's awesome. So the third one was then employee productivity. Again, pretty straightforward, but I mean, just as far as like you just day to day, just generating emails. It was interesting. I had another one that I didn't post here, but I ran, I said, develop me a 10-page PowerPoint about, I can't remember what the subject was. And it actually laid out the 10 charts in order as best it could. And it was pretty accurate. So that's kind of one, but I put this, I put this email that I generated for the CEO, where I asked it, to send an email like the previous one, give me some information on the challenges CIOs have. I said, well, now let me send an email to a CEO or a financial services company about a new product. And I actually spelled new wrong, but it found out that was actually new. It knew that. So that's kind of interesting. But anyway, so this is one area. The documentation creation is very, very cool. You can actually create Word docs. You can, we're talking about like, kind of more specific technical documentation can be created. So that's an area where I think there's a lot of value, because a lot of the work, a lot of the soft work we do, a lot of the call it non kind of hands-on keyboard type work is really related to leveraging the communication capabilities, and being able to augment that could really enhance productivity. So those are the three. Obviously, there are many more. And I'm sure there's a discussion on about what else people are using, and I'd love to hear that. But I thought I'd call out just kind of three just for the discussion. And then what the potential areas, again, we have our product engineering teams here. So this is more just a potential area, just looking at it from an architectural view, not from a product futuristic view or anything. But some of the key areas across the ServiceNow platform. First of all, the four main use cases I see are text, obviously, creating documents, coding, and then speech to text and text to speech. I think are the four areas where I think are the key use case areas. Within that, we can then generate all kinds of new opportunities. You can see the whole kind of Now platform area, from customer experience to knowledge management's a big area. Customer data, where we need to do searching on specific customers quickly and get responses to best align to where we need to be. What are the best products that align to that specific customer based on where they are in their transformation? I think are some unique ideas. Employee, onboarding, bringing in new employees and being able to train them quickly, I think is one of the biggest use cases potentially. Document management, of course, is another area. So that's going to be transformative, because right now a lot of those documents are manually created, put into the platform, and then just managed that way. But with this type of technology, it's more on the fly. They're created, as needed, and then can be, modified through AI, through advanced AI based on changes that it's detecting in the workflows that are happening. So it's kind of interesting, some of those use cases. For technology, intelligent CMDB search, any kind of searching where we need to find things quickly. The ones that are in green are potential, I think the ones in orange I'm seeing more opportunity, although again, this is, it's open forum. So there are probably other areas that I don't have covered, but based on my experience, these are some areas where I think you'll see some synergy with continual improvement, especially as well. And then operating excellence, onboarding again of suppliers for our customers, planning roadmaps, supplier intelligence, understanding how to find and align the best suppliers and vendors to a customer, I think is an area that that this type of technology can really help with. And then you can see on the creator experience at the bottom, an app engine. Obviously, we talked about coding and code augmentation, automation, and some of that, and some of those functions. If we can tie some level of automation to the generative AI functions, I think there's some really cool opportunities there. And obviously on the Now platform with knowledge management, skills management, and of course, virtual agent and natural language understanding, I think are two key areas where you'll see a lot of potential focus. Again, I think the question there will be on retaining and being able to, keep the security appropriate for our customers. But those are the main ones I see across the ServiceNow platform. Any comments on that as well? Wanted to kind of pause there.
Jeremy, are you on? Are you able to come off mute? Your comment was pretty interesting up there.
Yeah, basically it's, current employers, Black & Veatch, 100-year-old, engineering and construction company. And as you can imagine, there is plenty of data that lives in silos that kind of proves what a junior engineer would look like even. Certainly we can do that off the platform, right. We're a big Microsoft shop as well. But at the end of the day, you guys are also going vertical in your, reorg and platform. And I think it's just a very interesting moment in time where how does all that come together? Yeah.
Agreed. Especially when it's all, and how without break, because I think the idea originally of OpenAI was to keep the forum open and even the technology open so that we all can benefit. And so I think, but now what's happening, I think you're starting to see some cracks in that a little bit. Two areas. One is, the Microsoft investment, which I think I have some mixed views on that, although, I mean, obviously it needs the funding to grow. So I think that's one aspect to it, which I think is not a bad thing. But the corporate influence in the data, I think, is something that is a little concerning. And I think this is something we should, as a forum and as a community, really look at in ways in which we can protect our data in general. So I think those are some areas I think we need to really think through. But regardless of that, I think those are resolvable issues. Honestly, I do. I think with the parameters around the information, I think we can do enough of our client-specific information and be able to protect that and still be able to leverage this technology in a broader way. So I don't think it's unresolvable. I just think it's something we need to consider now, especially since this API has been released, and every single response and every single question that's put into ChatGPT stays there, and it's used in future responses. So that's interesting. If we are putting our own code out there, or we're putting customer information out there, it is subject to that. So it's something we just need to be very cognizant of. And as ServiceNow, we're very, very conscious of that. It's something we're highly focused on when we do develop our products, because we are focused on the enterprise. and our biggest concern is protecting our customer data. So it's one of the things we pride ourselves on, running our own cloud from the ground up and being able to protect our customers' data. So definitely a concern, but here's some areas of focus. Just an example.
Jason?
Yeah.
Yeah, Peter's on. He wants to know if everybody could post a picture of their dog and we could create an AI dog from everybody's.
Yeah, sure.
I saw that with horses the other day where it said, give me a picture of a horse. And it wasn't a horse. It was a combination of like 10 horses that it used off the internet to generate the picture, right?
Yeah, there was another one too I saw where, it asked you, I think asked it to create a orange box with a square around it or something, and it just popped it right up. It was like, wow, huh. So you just from just text and verbiage, it'll create images too.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, so this is one area. I think, again, this is there's nothing in the future that I'm aware of, but one area I think there's potential opportunity is combining knowledge management and virtual agent, and utilizing the technology. Now, whether we actually connect to ChatGPT or we actually develop something or work in conjunction with them to obviously keep the data secure, that's a different question. But I think there's a lot of opportunity here where we can augment knowledge. And I see in a future where knowledge isn't a database anymore like it would normally be. And because it would be real-time responses to information based on the context at the time that the persona or user is accessing the information. So you think about that, and knowledge as we know it is going to change, and knowledge management is going to completely transform based on that. I just see that happening. And then the way we receive the information from virtual agent will also be more personalized. And of course, it's already getting that way, but now tying direct responses, real-time responses that change with context and change with specific wording is a whole new area. I think that we can just see a lot of value with virtual agent.
Jason, this is Paul Gavois. One of the things, first of all, I'm not surprised that we are taking a look at this particular new technology and ways that we could take advantage of it and benefit from it. Being an enterprise architect from a particular sector, that being healthcare and higher ed, I see the potentials for greatness from the technology, but I also see some overwhelming concerns that I have regarding things like using ChatGPT for doing research and being able to do proper citations and making sure that our researchers, our students, et cetera, are not using it from, to plagiarize and turn in things that are not really their work or their thoughts. And is there a way for us to be able to allow them to use a ChatGPT and properly cite ChatGPT for the content that it provides? And how do we trace back the content that was provided from ChatGPT maybe to its original organic source, so that we know that it's accurate and whatnot. So those are some of the things that are continuing to loom in my mind about it. As excited as I am, I can't just embrace it completely because I know it's a two-edged sword. Has anybody else given any thought about that, or in any of the other sectors that our other guests in the call are from? Has that been a concern of theirs, or are they, working for typical organizations where it's not about plagiarism, it's about efficiency and pumping out content and doing it with as little manpower as possible, in which case ChatGPT is a nice solution to help in that regard. But there is that other aspect to it, and just kind of curious if the community has any thoughts on that.
Yeah, Ian, you had something, right?
Yeah, a couple of things. Yeah, I've been using this technology for a while. Yeah, the citation's a big issue because you don't know where the source is. But as I've just put in on the chat, there are some extensions that give you a bit of help there. So you can actually, they're free. Just be cautious as always with this. But things like Web Chat GPT is a Chrome extension. That'll give you a link to the source. But then what I use things like Quillbot, which is a robust application, about $100 a year, to actually drop the text into Quillbot, and you can ask Quillbot to give you the actual sources. if that makes sense. Yeah.
Oh,
So
that-
you can get citations. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Ian. That's outstanding. Appreciate that.
And the trouble with the Bing at the moment, I'm not sure if they've opened it up yet, but there are restrictions. So again, I've not been blogging on this because it's still a moving target, but we were part of the early Bing thing, and you could put only 5 prompts in a day. 5 in any conversation and 50 in a day. So hugely restrictive. Yeah. So we're not quite sure what's going on between them and OpenAPI at the moment.
Right.
But, and I've just got the latest Bing. I haven't had a chance to play with it this evening because we have real jobs.
Well, no, thank you, Ian, and appreciate the feedback. And yeah, I agree. I think what you were saying related to the, some of the questions, I think yeah, you'll see at the end, I have a couple of, these are, I'll call them challenges. And one of them is actually, and I think you've addressed it, Ian, with the citation, but that is one area. Like, for instance, if it's generating original information, and it gets posted on social media, for instance, who gets paid, right? And then who's cited, because is it the person who generated it from ChatGPT, or is it, ChatGPT itself? And then it's very interesting questions, especially as content it's technically original content, but then you have to look at, well, is it wording that's changing it? So a lot of questions around that. Wanted to hit a couple things here before we move on. Some interesting info here around some of the personas we see. Of course, content managers that currently manage content for knowledge bases. Obviously, that role could be augmented significantly or changed depending on how this technology is utilized. Employees and customers, especially with ServiceNow, case routing, more self-service, more natural conversation experiences, getting more information faster for our customers on products, helping them work with our customers, their customers, and then their customers to ensure that they're having that seamless experience. Agents, so this would be like technology and IT agents, at service desks, for instance, having that kind of capability to quickly access knowledge and searching capability quickly, and then virtual agent as well, and then developers and coders being able to write code based on conversation is just one of the other key areas. So those are the personas, not the only ones, but key ones that we see with specific areas that our customers utilize ServiceNow. And then challenges. So again, we talked about this a little bit. I do think the number one challenge is just ensuring we're able to secure our customer data and intellectual property. And I think that's the same thing for us as well as for our customers, and making sure that we have parameters around that and we think through the best way to do it, utilizing both technology and human ingenuity to ensure that we're not consolidating information into single sources where, we're consolidating power and knowledge, and want to ensure that that's not being utilized negatively against us, essentially. Customized content. So I think, being able to train the models on specific content that's relevant to a customer, that doesn't get clouded by more broad-based public content, I think is one area that I think we need to focus on, is just the way in which we marry specific content from our customers to the content that's out in the internet, out in the world, and being able to do that in a way that doesn't negatively affect us. Error prevention and errors. I think there's, even with the training, there's a lot of errors with it. There's a number of, if you look on YouTube, there's a couple really good videos, and John actually sent it to me. You should put that in the chat, John.
Lou sent that to me. Lou posted it earlier. The dark side, that one.
Dark side. Yeah, I think that's a really good video to reference here, because it does go to the heart of how you can manipulate ChatGPT to negate empathy and it's very interesting. So anyway, I highly recommend reviewing that. It's a very short video. I think it's 5 minutes out on YouTube. And then plagiarism, we talked about that, right? How do you ensure the content of the original source of the content gets credit, and how does that align? So again, we're talking about these subjects, and I think those are very, very important as we continue to use this. And ServiceNow is very focused on these areas, right? Ensuring, number one, that we're secure, that the content is relevant to our customers, that we're able to integrate appropriately and securely with existing systems where appropriate, that we're able to reduce error, and that we're able to provide source credit where appropriate, and ensure that it doesn't break that mechanism. And then some misconceptions. So I actually asked, what are some misconceptions or myths about ChatGPT? It was interesting. There are a few misconceptions. One is ChatGPT can solve all problems, right? It says, while I'm a powerful tool for generating text, I am not omniscient or all-knowing. It's kind of funny. There's a little bit of comedy in this, which is really interesting. ChatGPT is a human. That's a myth. While I can generate human-like responses, I'm not human. I'm a machine learning model, and I don't have emotions or feelings, which is kind of actually a little bit scary, but let's leave it at that. If it doesn't have any emotion or feeling, that's kind of gets to the video you'll see that we want to reference here. Talks about that a little bit. ChatGPT is biased. While I'm designed to be objective as possible, there's a risk of bias, of course. However, my developers work to mitigate bias as much as possible. I hope they make that public. I hope as to how they do that, mitigating bias, and that's as public as possible, because I think that's one of the areas OpenAI should focus on, if they don't already, is ensure that they keep their bias algorithms public, and allow that to be generated in an open forum. ChatGPT is perfect. While I'm a powerful tool, there may be errors in my responses. Of course, they correct errors when they can, but it's not infallible. So I'm not perfect. So anyway, it's kind of interesting. So that's the misconceptions. And then the conclusion, really, again, there's a lot of potential opportunity. And of course, I can tell you, can't give you any details about what ServiceNow is doing, of course, but we are highly motivated in looking at how to leverage this technology for our customers in the most safe and secure way possible. I think a couple areas, like further defining better use cases that work for our customers, I think is an area where, as enterprise architects, we're going to focus on. Ensuring that, where they can best get value out of this. What other capabilities in ServiceNow and what our product teams see, I think, is a key area. Again, keeping the caveats of security and data integrity intact. I think that's really an important area. And then the personas, it goes back to use cases, just identifying skill sets and kind of the people aspect of this, and how that could benefit the work they do and also the companies they work for. And then obviously the fourth one is the most important, which is resolving and ensuring enterprise security and proprietary data protection. And then the last is the question. So I think we're doing good on time. We have 10 minutes. And what I did was I put a bunch of questions in here, 6 questions for the forum, and some of them we've addressed. But the first one is, are you using ChatGPT today in your enterprise? If so, in what way? The second one was, where do you think your enterprise will struggle the most in adopting it? If you're using ChatGPT today, do you plan on experimenting with it in the near future? And again, you can take these. We're going to share this content. So again, you can respond in an open forum, in the chat, verbally, however you want to, or any one question or all questions. It's an open forum. Which personas and use cases do you see would most benefit? Is it cheating if content is uniquely generated? do we cite, who do we cite as a source? We talked about that a little bit. If the source is used on social media to generate income, who gets paid? Just a couple open moral questions there as well. But so anyway, that's what I had. Any thoughts? I'll kind of open it up to the forum. And John, if you have any chats there that we want to hit on or discuss, I'm happy to do that. So yeah, we'll leave the last 5 or 10 minutes here for that.
Sure, I'll just give an open forum if anybody wants to add any comments. Anything we missed here? Any other things we should have perspectives on as the forum?
I have a question.
Oh, go on, Lewis. Yeah.
Yeah, so given the security and the risk with ChatGPT is I don't know how the power of ChatGPT is obviously the world, right? Providing information. But if you cordon that off to individual companies, then you can only get the value based on the information that is being added by those people that use it. But without those barriers, how are you going to leverage something like ChatGPT? Because it seems too wild west and unpredictable.
Can I pile on that? Is Ian here?
No, it's open forum. Yeah,
I'll go down these questions.
let
And
you
just
guys,
on that point, are you using it? Well, I use it a lot because my wife has disabilities and she was a special ed teacher. So what caused me to write the book that I wrote over 2 weekends was the Wild West out there with all the guidance and really like no rules when there are rules. This is conversational design type territory. So if any of you know how to ask a question and know how to ask a follow-up question, sometimes ChatGPT is like a politician. It refuses to answer the question the way you asked it. So that's the skill, which leads me into point 2. That's the struggle. Prompt engineering, Google it, research it. That's it. Find out how to drive from ChatGPT. Because when you come down to some of the other ones, experimenting, the landscape's changing every day. Track it. There's so many things and tools being offered to us by really a lot of teenagers and people the age of my children are out there judoing this. Please check out the act as. There's because you can turn around to this thing and say act as, put in whatever job title, or act as Winston Churchill, it doesn't matter, act as Abraham Lincoln, and it'll respond differently. So you'll see a lot of act as personas. And cheating, I think that'll be resolved. I think that the cat's out the bag. Everyone's using it for all different purposes, and it's disruptive. And it's the people who are being disruptive, teachers like my wife. Mm-hmm. And she took the approach of, well, if you actually did the work and you actually didn't just copy paste and you actually worked with ChatGPT to get to a result, I'll give you some credit because you're solving a problem. Right. And our children have forgotten to think that way.
And sometimes it's more forward thinking to ask the right question, right, than to get the right answer.
Oh, it's so right? Much that. And so what you'll see, if anyone's been near the tools that were out there for the past couple of years, Jasper AI, the whole thing was building recipes, prompt recipes, like stacking the prompts in a certain sequence to get where you want to get. Right. Yep. So if you are on ChatGPT, you probably bumped into list me some of these. And then if you go into expand, you could go into the wood. You can go into the woods. Pick one from the list and go step by step. Give me a step by step on item number 1, and it'll react differently. And that's the skill I think we need to brush off. If I may, Jason, we need to go back to some basics, which you might find them near the core of virtual agent. Right. How you build that, but please don't connect ChatGPT to virtual agent and expect it. This thing is, it's Wild West. There are no rules.
Agreed. I think that's where especially with the release of the API today and the encouragement, just connect to the API and bring your, connect your critical systems. Now we're enterprise. Now ChatGPT is enterprise ready, right? It's like, okay, we need to just step back. I do think there's some thought around, and the excitement of this may lead us to doing things that without thinking through the implications. So I think as a forum for our customers, if the takeaway of this is nothing more than just revisiting, if you are looking through how to connect this to your environments, I would highly step back and review that. There's some companies already doing it, and they're already out there connecting their data, pulling information in. I think that's a little bit premature, and frankly, I would say a tad reckless.
Can I be naughty and have one more comment there, Jason?
Absolutely.
Just give you an example. So I'm not going to say we did it, but all of us dabble. But let's say that you actually connect this to a HR system or an invoicing system. You have a custom ChatGPT add-on, and you've taught it about your company, right? There's our logo. There's our invoice layout. You've now given it the ability for anyone who can access it to say, list the salaries of the C-level, please, and you'll get an answer. Yeah, that's the danger. So now suddenly you've got this power that you've got to put some controls around.
Right.
So be careful.
Yeah, agreed.
To Ian's point about act as, I think it would be very interesting if you guys connected just the dots between your ServiceNow operating model and all the different personas or jobs in there, right? Like literally I should be able to have the Chuck Tomasi, platform architect view, or the Mark Bodman data manager view, or something along those lines. Because at the end of the day, I don't know of too many ServiceNow practices or customers that can afford to fulfill that entire operating model with full-time, staff members that do nothing but, right? I kind of mentioned in a previous chat, why not connect the dots between a health scan and a instance scan, but then at the same time, why not wrap the security admin role in there, or whatever, just as a pure learning experience, if nothing else, make all of us better. Because at the end of the day, we all can't just sit there and post LinkedIn chats to Chuck and have him answer, or go out to the community and find stuff that way or whatever. So I think it's a huge opportunity for you guys to be able to, CSDM would be the same way. It's just slightly different.
I agree. I do. And I think that's a really good point. I think it does start with the input of the data, whether your parameters are around that. But, because I think that's where we need to think through it. And to your use case of, being able to identify key operating skills around the platform is a good example where we could use some of this information to generalize and say, in a general form, you need these personas to help you manage a ServiceNow platform. And these are the key functions. And that could be leveraged by ChatGPT. Customers could utilize that to be able to say, okay, here's the role I need. Here's what, and so those are some of the potential opportunities. And as far as like linking the content around the platform, again, I think just being with careful thought of that, utilizing the technology, because I think the algorithms that are actually used are very interesting. The question is, how accurate can it be with how much data? How much data does it really need to truly provide value in a secure way to an enterprise? And I think that question's still open. So,
yeah, especially in the domains too. Like if somebody brought up HR here, I saw ESG brought up, ITOM, in all the different contexts. There's all this new set of possibilities too, right?
Right. Yep. So yeah, that was it pretty much for me. So again, John, I'll turn it back over to you, and thank you everyone. Appreciate it. Hopefully it was informative.
Yeah. Outstanding, Jason. Thanks for pulling all this together. I know it was so many ideas that you were assembling here. You're getting input from everybody. So really good job. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
And thanks everybody for chiming in. That was really useful information. I'll get the chat out. I don't usually post the chat on the community, but this time, because there's so much useful things in it, I'm going to post the whole chat out there so you'll have it. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you in a few weeks.
Thank you.
Thanks. And Ian, thanks for chiming in, man. It was